Hiya, my name's Rina. I was diagnosed as dyslexic when I was 17. So today I'll be reviewing some dyslexia simulators. So these simulations can be useful to show how people can experience dyslexia, but because the condition is so wide-ranging and varies so much from person to person, there's so many different characteristics, not all of them can be simulated. So having a simulation could potentially mislead people or oversimplify some of the needs that and challenges that people experience. So using them has to have some kind of caveats front and center. There's value in having them though to create some empathy and understanding, or even just to start a conversation around lived experience and how people experience dyslexia. So the first dyslexia simulator I've got here is it's hosted on CodePen by a user called Light. Yeah, so this one changes the letters within the words. So it simulates a very specific element of dyslexia that some people experience. This particular simulator can be helpful for people like teachers or colleagues at work. If someone with dyslexia specifically describes this as a challenge that they face, it can help people to understand how they experience reading written words. But there does need to be a caveat on it that, it just because someone has dyslexia doesn't mean they will view text in this way. Personally, I don't find that words or letters move or dance or change. I don't experience that element of dyslexia. So the next simulator that I'm going to be kind of showing here is called the Web Disability Simulator. So this is a Google Chrome extension that you can get on the Chrome Web Store. And you get a few different options in this one. So we're going to specifically be looking at both this dyslexia option, which is under the read and write drop down, but also the concentration option at the bottom of the list. So if I go ahead and activate the dyslexia option, so you can see that this one's very much like the one that we looked at before on CodePen, in that the letters within the words will change around. The words and letters move around. Again, it's very similar to the previous one that we looked at. It simulates a very specific part of the dyslexic experience that not everyone will experience. Okay, so the other one that I kind of mentioned earlier was this concentration option that's at the bottom of the simulator. So I'm just going to turn this on, and then I'm going to turn it off because it will really distract me. So as you can see, things are moving around, they're getting bigger, they're getting smaller, things kind of pop up in the middle of the screen. It makes it really hard to focus on what you're doing. So I'm going to turn it off now because I can't think while I'm looking at it. So one of the things that I experience is trouble focusing. And so that is, if you get a web page, there's like, I'm not going to name names, but certain news sites that have like pop-ups all over the place, adverts, moving images, all of those sorts of things. They're really super distracting, and you can't like focus on what you're looking at. So that out of all of these, that is hands down my favorite simulator. It gives such a great example of how difficult it can be to concentrate on busy websites. So some of the key points that I've kind of discussed today, there is some value in using dyslexia simulators if you're working with someone who has dyslexia, who says that this is kind of representative of their experience. But I think it's really important to remember that these simulators only simulate one small part of the dyslexic experience, and there are a huge number of other challenges that people with dyslexia can experience that aren't in these simulators and can't be simulated themselves. So things like trouble forming sentences and bringing words to mind. you can't really simulate that. So it's just really important to remember that while they can be useful, there are many other elements of dyslexia that aren't included within the simulators.